Hi, first grade. It's Mr. Walsh here. How are you? I want you to know that I miss you. I miss you terribly. I am missing your faces, your energy, the way you give your all in the gym. I miss our motor skill warm up when we spin the wheel, and then when we go to our little red spots and we listen to the agenda, and then we get started and do fun activities together. I miss it. I hope you're staying active. I hope you're getting plenty of exercise and play on your own, at home and outside. Spring is here. The weather's been a little iffy, but hopefully it'll be getting warmer here soon and you'll be able to go outside even more to get your exercise in. You also can find some exercise videos that I've made for you on our Special Agents website. You'll also find some great activities from Miss Wilkie and Mrs. Blehar there as well. If you've yet to check those out, you can just mention it to mom and dad and they can help you find them, okay? Now, I am not here in this video today to talk to you about exercise, and you know how much I love exercise and how important it is in our lives. Instead, I am here to share with you my all-time favorite picture book. This book came into my life about 20 years ago when I was a fourth grade teacher. I had never read it before, and a dad came into my classroom and he wanted to do a read aloud, like a guest read aloud, kind of like what I'm doing for you now. And I picked this book for him to read, and I had never heard it before. And after he was done reading it, I thought to myself, I just think I heard my all-time favorite picture book. So I would like to share this book with you today. It's called Saving Sweetness. There's sweetness right there. And it's written by Diane Stanley, illustrated by G. Brian Karras. Now, before we start reading this book, I just want to touch upon some background knowledge before we start the book. So the first thing I want to ask you is, do you know what an orphan is? Have you ever heard of that before? An orphan is somebody, a boy or a girl, who, for whatever reason, doesn't have a mom or a dad. And if an orphan doesn't get adopted right away, excuse me, by a family, they live in a place called an orphanage, waiting to be adopted. The second thing I want to touch upon in this book is the desert. What do you know about the desert? Whether the desert is in the American Southwest, here in the United States, or maybe over in Africa, right, in Northern Africa. There are different deserts in the world. And what do we know about them? Well, they're very, very dry, lots of sand, some incredible creatures, like birds and scorpions and snakes, right? Like rattlesnakes. And they don't really have, the vegetation is very different. When I say vegetation, I mean like the trees and the plants. I look out my window and I see pine trees, I see maple trees, I see oak trees. But you're not going to see those giant trees in the desert because it's not a lot of water. It doesn't rain very often. So you see a lot of cacti, like a cactus plant, because those plants, they can live and grow pretty tall in very dry conditions. They don't need a lot of water. Okay, you might see tumbleweeds, right, going across the landscape. Another thing about the desert that when I was a little boy and I heard this fact, it kind of blew my mind, and that is, as hot as the desert is during the day, it can actually get very cold at night. I know, that's a little strange, right? Those two things don't seem to go together, really hot and then really cold, but that's what happens in a desert. And lastly, the term sheriff. What's a sheriff? Well, a sheriff is like the very top police officer. You can think of it as like a chief of police, okay? All right, so keep some of these things in mind, or all of these things in mind, as I read this book to you, and let's get started.